As the crypto correction continues on, it is time to be looking at the most important indicator that has been judging when it is safe to be looking for a major bounce and perhaps even calling the end of this correction. With that said, welcome back to EllioTrades channel. I'm your host Krown, and today we're going to go over the most important thing on Bitcoin that has been keeping us safe for the past couple months now, suggesting if and when to look at this asset as safe again, let's say, and by extension, the majority of the crypto market. Then I'll go through some of the top names, of course, as well, and just talk about areas that I'd be looking for on some nice bounces perhaps. However, I really want to highlight this point that until we do see an obvious Bitcoin reversal, which we'll go over what would confirm that, very similar as before, although different numbers now with this new price action, well, it's not very wise or very profitable in my experience to be leaning into such things. So with that in mind, I want to let you also know if you're interested in a more in-depth long-term analysis on Bitcoin. I do that exactly on my channel each and every day, which you can find in the link in the description below. Okay, sweet. So let's start it off right here. Now we've been following this indicator, which is the global open interest representing leveraged positions for at least a couple months now on this channel, and suggesting that, hey, we see a historical relationship here that anytime this has gotten over 13 billion with a B that is, there has been at minimum a 30% correction, or sorry, a minimum 20% correction, and at most, 50% correction. Essentially, it's a good indication that it is not time to be aggressive, which has been the focal point of any analysis that we've been putting out on this channel, especially in the last, I'd say, month to month and a half. With that in mind, we do see that, or to actually go over this data, which I should probably, do that so that you can see how it operates, so that you can then do it for yourself, of course. I want to come back to about a year ago in March, actually, where we did see it get above 13 billion. That did catalyze the drop from about $60,000 to $50,000 in a very short amount of time. After that, a small reset, and then of course trudges up towards new all-time highs on both price action and open interest in April at $65,000, and then the catastrophic 50% pullback, no, crash is the proper word, into our summer lows. Once again, it grinds back on up into beautiful September highs at $53,000. And then a nice $13,000 washout within the midst of just about one day. And then of course, after that, crawls its way back upwards and onwards towards our current $69,000 all-time high, at which time we did see an all-time high also on the open interest. And that first major drop-off, of course, coming down to $40,000 price per Bitcoin. And then what was very important that happened in this last month, leading in for the bulk of December into January, was the fact that the open interest once again clawed its way back up above that 13 billion marker, actually almost to 14 billion, alongside a test of the $52,000 range highs. And well, same old, this time is indeed not different. So we've been saying on this channel that, hey, until this really comes down and resets to what we've seen before, which is certainly at minimum 11 billion, and preferably lower is the better. For reference, over the summer, we did see about 5 billion on the lows. I don't think it needs to get that low for what it's worth, but I do think that it would be a lot more safe to be waiting for this to come lower. And until then, all bullish setups or potential bullish setups that perhaps have been spoken about in the past month, they're just it's just unlikely to happen. This is why it's so important to be watching Bitcoin. Now, I want to go now into the hourly data feed, and I should also let you know where you can get this data so that you can just do this yourself, basically keep yourself safe, essentially, which is found at app.crowntrading, Krown with a K, .net, and all this is free. It's actually my own app, and well, there you go. Anyways, you can go down into an hourly data feed just by clicking on the time frame right here. And you can see that, we have been coming down a little bit further today, but we're not getting that major washout that we're looking for just yet. So today's topic essentially is going to be looking for those potential long-term bottoming or at least bouncy areas. And again, when we're talking about bottoming areas, that means that we need to see a confirmed reversal, which we'll go over on price action in a second here, but until this is really reset, especially more than what we've seen right now, I do think that this is still risky, again, in the same way that we've been talking about in the past month and a half now. Okay, so let's start it out over here. And first things first, let's talk about what would actually confirm a reversal on Bitcoin. As you know, there's always going to be some hopium, right? Before, we were looking at $52,000 as that last prior daily high, that rejection that we saw right here, as a confirmation that Bitcoin would be reversing and, of course, heading upwards and onwards. Obviously, that did not happen. So there's no real discussion about it. Really, it just didn't happen. Now we can move that same point down into the daily discussion, which is no longer going to be $52,000, no longer going to be even $48,000 or $47,000 right here, but now with this last rejective high after about about 2 to 3 week long consolidation, we can move that point down yet again and to right. Whoops. Okay, that chart is just a it's just a monstrosity. Apologies on that. Let's just make a nice little blue box rectangle right here. This is exactly where I'm talking about. $44,000 on a daily closure, nothing less. As long as Bitcoin is below there, we're not talking about any sort of confirmed major lows. There will be bounces, of course, along the way. I mean, we're seeing like a very small one right now, to be fair, but that is not the same thing as a reversal, which I think is what most people are looking for in the context of, long-term investing or long-term trading. If you have a multi-year time horizon, which I believe a lot of people on this channel do, that's probably going to be a little more relevant to you. So as we bring this one forwards, should I present some hopium is the real question. I suppose it is relevant, yes, as we've been speaking about before. However, again, this of absolute importance right here, $44,000. As long as Bitcoin's below there, there's no talks of a major macro reversal for Bitcoin and by extension, the majority of this market. Now, there is one potentially bullish thing on the board, and it would be this. Not my favorite thing, by the way, as well, but it is the good old falling pizza. No, a falling wedge, which technically speaking does have a higher probability to break out to the upside than the downside. My issue with these formations is that you can get walked down the bottom end trend line here for infinity. I do not trade these myself. I do not like these. I find that they're just painful and just hopium, balloons, basically. Anyways, if Bitcoin were to resolve this one to the upside, which technically speaking would be had with a closure above that same level, that $44,000 number, we would have a technical target to apply as well. And I imagine from that price point would bring you right back up somewhere into the mid or shallow $50,000 territory, somewhere around the 0.5 right here. Then we'd come back to it after that and really decide if this market actually is ready or not. But again, this is hopium for right now. And as long as we see that open interest reads within those regions, risk does remain lower, of course. So that brings up the question, where are the potential areas? So first things first, I mean, we're kind of in one right now, to be fair. Oops, wrong tool right there. Apologies on that. Kind of in one right now, to be fair. There is some merit to this region at the $38,000 or $37,500 number. Personally speaking, I do think that there's risk for lower. I'll put it that way. Where would I be looking for in a perfect situation, or at least something that would be resembling a major bounce, a very likely heavily tradable bounce on higher term timeframes? Of course, that would come in from right here as we zero in on the data, the gap from CME coming off of the July bear trap, and I'll just put a nice little blue box right here. Now, keep in mind that that number does come in between about $33,000 and $35,000. The thing with this is that CME futures do have a natural discount on price action in comparison to spot right now to represent, well, the bearish outlook, the bearish sentiment within this market. So that would probably put Bitcoin spot a little bit higher than that. Maybe at most about $500 higher than that, perhaps, theoretically speaking. The other thing that I'd be looking for, which is actually confluent with that, is over here on the quarterly chart, which I need to bring up. Where's my quarterly chart? There we go. And that would be, if we go to log scale, look a little bit better, that would be a backfill on our quarterly reversal that we saw back in July. Just as a quick statistical analysis, anytime that we've seen a reversal, both to the upside and the downside on the quarterly chart for Bitcoin specifically, it has always come alongside a back test of the open of that reversal. Now, I think most of these are self-explanatory here. Obviously, this one, you back test the open, you wick a little bit below it. That's fine. Same thing over here. Here's your reversal. Essentially, you obviously test it right here. Now, the one that's not obvious, but I think really helps hammer in the point, is what we saw back on over here in January 2019. here was your reversal off of the $3,100 lows or so. And you'll notice the next quarterly doesn't backtest the open. Very interesting. Neither does the next one. Neither does the next one. Guess which one does? The flu dump right here. Perfectly coming down to that open. And then, upwards and onwards for, well, the next couple years, essentially. What we see right here, your open of that quarterly reversal from July was 35,000. So anywhere around there, I do look for, at minimum, a major bounce. Potentially, if I'm going to call things in advance, which not always the wisest thing to be doing, I would be looking at that as a potential reversal area as well. So that would imply lower, obviously. Anyways, let's just quickly and briefly go down some of the major altcoins here and, talk about areas that, at least I'd be looking for a big bounce from. And I'll just go down by like the popular ones. So let's actually first start off with Mr. Buteral, good old Mr. Buteral. That, of course, is going to be, what is this, Ethereum right here. And what do we see? We do see multiple drives of bearish divergence coming off the highs. Coming down right now, I'd be looking somewhere around the 24 to 2300 region overall. And again, there's going to be bounces along the way. It's not all happening today, likely happening over time. And I'd be looking for a big bounce there. I don't know about a reversal just yet. Again, need to check in on Bitcoin, of course, for that. Let's move down the list to Cardano. People really don't like it when I talk about Cardano, but what do we have right here? We have another rejection at range highs. You very likely know what happens next, of course. All momentum oscillators putting down, and where's the next area that I'd be looking for? I suspect on a Bitcoin dumpola party, probably looking at yet another test down somewhere around $1 low. Let's move on to Avax, symbol AVAX. Tough one right there. Oh, Jesus. Likely looking down for the next major bounce. Again, there's going to be some in between here on the shorter term timeframes, but the next major one likely somewhere in the mid 60s, let's say. And again, I'm not calling. To be deliberately clear, I'm not calling reversals, just calling bounces. I'd like to see what Bitcoin does around those times before I speak about anything resembling a reversal, preferably alongside a higher high. That'd be beautiful. That's kept us safe in the last couple of months here, or I guess like 2.5 months now, basically since middle of November, all-time highs. BNB, probably looking at minimum down to like 388, but if the market really dumps out, I'm probably looking like max. I wouldn't say max down, but the next major area would be about 340 to 350. Let's see, who do we have next here on my list? Doggy Coin, beautiful. Back below 10 cents. Sorry. Sorry, if you're familiar with the song, sorry. Apologies on that one. And again, I'm not trying to laugh at anyone's misfortunes here. This is all for, of course, for good. I mean, this is all for learning purposes. If you are being financially hit in this moment, if you are having a difficult time with this, understand that you can use this experience to serve you in the future if you do learn and gain from it. Anyways, moving on to symbol FTT, holding up relatively well, in fact. Quite nice, although I do think that it is very likely to come down here, to be honest with you, at least coming back down to like 38 or so. If the market dumps out from there, well, I suspect, in like a, Bitcoin down to 30 or 35 region, probably looking at this one coming down to about 31 or so. But for right now, one of the stronger ones, actually. So I would just be respectful of the daily right here, likely coming down back around 38, let's call it. Moving on to Link, back below $19. Get another failed rally attempt. Weekly comes back down, another lower high right there. Very likely digging into where these wicks were before, somewhere in the $17 region. I'm curious to see what the monthly looks like. This is a little bit more problematic to me, so I'm going to hold off on saying anything more than that for this one. I do think, likely another move down somewhere around $15 to $17 or so within the next month. Litecoin, you probably can already guess, it's Litecoin after all. Likely looking at a move towards around the summer lows in the low $100 region. In the next, again, we're probably talking about a month and a half away from this time point. Matic. This one's failing right here too. Very likely coming down to about 160-ish region, give or take a few cents from that region. Moving on to what do we have next? What do we have next? There we go. Solana. Likely coming back down somewhere around about $100 before the next potentially major bounce. But again, that is not the same thing as a reversal call. Let's see, who else do we have over here? Should we do Stellar? Is that even popular anymore? Probably not. I guess XRP. We'll end on this one, this last one on my list. You can tell that I come from 2017, of course. Anyways, in this case, yeah, looking at another retest of your November lows right here. It looks like monthly, and a bit of a difficult position as well. Longer term, perhaps down around about 50 cents or so. Again, alongside a Bitcoin continuation move. So I've spoken about a lot of potentially doom and gloom. Again, I want to offer up, as always, the a little bit of hopium on the other side. What would, if this happened, make me immediately reconsider right now continuation calls to more downside over the next few weeks? Maybe it takes a month, maybe it takes a month and a half. Who knows? I have no way of knowing that, nor does I imagine anyone else. By the way, another drive of hidden bearish divergence right there. But let's say today or tomorrow, or perhaps over the weekend, and this is hopium right here. I don't think that this is necessarily happening, but let's say Bitcoin essentially V bottoms out of here, pops back above that critical $44,000 region, closes the daily above there. Hey, all good in the hood after that, or at least for a major move to the upside, and then we come back in after that moment. So I think that will do it for right now, a 15-minute long video. I hope that this was in some way helpful or valuable to your life. If not, let me know in this comment section below. And with that said, take care, stay safe. Please, as always, understand that making no trade is a trade decision in and of itself, and sometimes it's even the most right decision as well. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.